Welcome back to the Saga Motorsports channel. It's Fast Lap with Felix again. Today we are visiting VIR, or Virginia International Raceway, one of my favorite laps on the calendar. A place we have been attending once a year for the past 5 years. We absolutely love it. This place gives you nostalgic motorsports vibes, and those on-track condos make you feel right at home. The track configuration we have run is the full course that is 3.27 miles long. We always visit this track midsummer, and although it's always scorching hot, we always go back the next year for more. The lap we'll be reviewing is in our 2018 GT2 RS with Hoosiers, an absolute beast. If you want to see its current setup, click the link in the description below. To be clear, in this leg of our summer trip, I was still recovering from a severe cold, but I had to get back on the track with this monster of a car. I will let you all watch the onboard, and we will dissect it after. Vamos! So the start finish for our aim system is in the middle of the back straight. We will nonetheless keep the corner numbers the same. Let's check it out. So we're starting in the back straight, and I am pushing to get a good launch. I didn't use all the track, and that's just so I have a car that's parallel to the track and ready to rip. So full throttle all the way down the straight. This straight is absolutely crazy. It goes down, goes uphill, and the last section is blind. So you always have to be looking left towards this corner worker right here, as he is your saving grace if there is a problem down the hill. If he says nothing, send it. Every time at VIR in this back straight, I do a little harness check, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So here, this corner is absolutely very tricky. This is turn 13. Very tricky. Everyone thinks they need to brake in a straight line, then turn in. But as you get more experience and as you start doing this and more, you start realizing that you could carry a lot of brake up the hill. It is uphill, so you can brake a little bit as the car is going down. As soon as the car compresses, you don't have to add as much brake. So you want to make sure to get to that left apex. A lot of people here to turn 14, they like to square this corner or move all the way left to move right. I prefer to kind of go straight shot into the inside of 14. That way I don't end up displacing it. And in this section here, the other thing is if I square off this corner, I still cannot carry a full throttle down 14, 15. Why approach the turn that way if I cannot go full throttle? Say there was a straightaway next, then I would try to square that corner away to get a good launch because I know I could stay full throttle. But I don't think there is a gain there. There is as big a gain there. So I decided to go straight into turn 14 to the inside curb, keep on hugging that curb. And you want to stay close to most of the curb all the way through. Now here, I probably could have waited a little bit longer to get on throttle, but I was definitely antsy. So let's keep going. This next downhill corner, 15. I've never had an issue here in 15, but here, if you're good positioned at 14, you can grab a decent burst of throttle. It doesn't matter if you're in the GT4, GT3, GT3 RS, GT2. There is space here for a burst of throttle, but you do have to have a decent amount of wheel in the car. So just be mindful if the rear starts getting loose, just to chop the throttle a little bit. So as you see, I grabbed throttle, I released because I didn't want to go off the end of the track. And then I grab a little bit more throttle. I still have wheel in it, but the car still seems hooked up. Obviously, if you're on a different tire, this time we're on Hoosiers, you may have to be more ginger or maybe more progressive on the throttle. So we come to turn 16. This is one where in a GT3 and GT3 RS, I'm comfortable by not braking before I get there. I leave the whole braking to the landing and compression zone. You do 100% want to make sure that you are using all that curbing on the left. It upsets the car, but I prefer to use it than to be pinched on the right hand side. In this case, the GT2, I grabbed a little bit of brake on the way in. You can see it here. And that's just kind of for self-confidence. So once the car lands, you grab a little bit of brake. Now, I want to be 100% clear with you guys. In this car, you are going to see some weird throttle traces. You're gonna see me that I'm on the brakes and then sometimes like I'm adding throttle as well. We do not know why this car does this. We do feel like it's the car trying to keep turbo pressure, or what we would call spool. And it's basically to keep the turbocharger in range to where it can apply boost sooner than if the turbocharger was fully out of range. So if you see some weird throttle traces, it's definitely the car. We've only seen this on the GT2s, but then again, we haven't tracked the Turbo S's or any other turbo cars. So let's continue down turn 16. This section is one where I have learned to kind of set the car, and then you're gonna put the car. So you have to set it initially, and then you're gonna put the car where you want with throttle. As you'll see here, I go to throttle, I kind of release because I want to make sure that I make that inside apex at 17. Yep. Make sure I make that inside apex. And here you do want to use that track out. As you can 100% see, there is a lot of people dipping wheels on the grass here. But as you get to that curbing, if you are close or no, because sometimes you have to realize, am I going to be on that grass? You have to realize, just go straight or straighten the wheel and you just ride a little bit of grass and you survive the lap. In my case, I still have half a lap to go. So here, another one. I have no idea why I am not all the way right and getting to that inside apex, but I'm staying on track, so we are gonna roll with it. You usually wanna turn a little bit early. I think there is like a little crest here. There used to be a tree there that was kind of like the hinting point, but here you could probably see the cone. As soon as you see the cone, start going towards the cone. Let's roll. So here at this point, you could probably turn in and make a shorter line by actually getting close to that inside cone. I did not, but I don't think it took too much lap time from me. One thing you absolutely want to do, maybe this is what I was going for, is you want to be completely square as you are braking into turn one. Into turn one, I have seen so many cars go straight off the track, and it's just because they're trying to push that braking zone. Now, what they don't realize is that the track, I do feel like it's somewhat level, and then it goes downhill. It has a little bit of undulation at the very end of it, which if you're going off the track, that's when you're gonna wanna apply the most, or you're gonna, by nature, if you're going off the track, or you've already realized that you're gonna go off track, you're gonna add more brake pressure, so you're just making it worse for yourself. So, into turn one, I think I'm braking like I'm using the 5 marker as a reference, but then again, I am going 150 compared to a GT3 RS that is probably going 135, 140. This thing absolutely chuches. So here, I feel like I did turn a bit early, but again, I would say half a car more would have been the perfect turn in, or half a car closer to that arrow here on the left would be a perfect turn in, just because I would have been better pointed. Again, my whole goal, at least when I'm on track, is I need to make every apex. Whether I'm early, whether I'm late, I need to make every apex, and kind of one of those, I'll figure it out on the way out. So I'm definitely a little bit early here. And as you can see, I made the apex, but I'm gonna have to wait to roll throttle, because if not, I'm literally gonna go off the end of the track. I do feel like turn one, or I have done it on other cars where I'm comparing data and lap time, and I do feel like turn one, you wanna be mid to late, because shorter, faster through there produces better lap times. So here I let the car go wide. I was able to move the car back all the way right. So kind of here, I am at a similar point to where I would have been if I would have done the shorter, faster route. So kind of here, I'm starting from scratch, or I am back to normal position. Turn two, one of those really tough. You want to carry as much speed as possible, but you literally don't want to go straight off. I see a lot of people displace this by half a car, and to me, I just feel like I'm not going to be able to keep the car on track into three, or I'm gonna have trouble rotating the car. So I decided to use all the track, or get to the apex there, let the car go as far right, and at this point, moving far right is kind of just in my peripheral vision, right? I know it's there. I know I'm kind of getting close to that right-hand curbing, but you do not want to get on that curbing. We had a friend who I did a ride along with, you know who you are. As soon as he got to that curbing on the right, the car got so upset. So I prefer to leave a couple feet there than to be a couple feet over. Obviously, the more laps you get, the more precise you can be, and the more you can start working on just getting the car there by your peripheral, because here, your eyes should already be on that left-hand apex at 3. And here, you can see, I turn the car in, I wanna see the balance of the car, and that's why I'm putting wheel and removing wheel out of the car. 100%, I wanna make this apex. This is my goal, to make this apex. If I am a little bit early, I know that I can just use a little bit, not be as aggressive of throttle on the way out, but as soon as I am here, I am looking for that apron on the right. You can't see too much of the apron, but believe me, now you can start seeing it. So I'm like, okay, let's boogie. And the apron's there. I know a lot of people use this apron as a safety margin. If it was just rumbles, I would maybe stay away from it. But the fact that you have a split second of rumbles and then 100% grip, I am gonna use that to my advantage. And you'll see that again at Oak Tree. So move the car right, make the car neutral. So you saw my steering went 100% back to neutral, right? As I am exited turn 3 into turn 4, you're back neutral. Go to the brakes as you're going straight, start adding wheel. So the reason I'm adding brakes and turning the car, I'm kind of telling the car, hey, the next turn is left, right? So I'm setting the car. And to be honest, I know VIR is very high speed, and there's always a lot of lap time to be gained on the high speed stuff. But honestly, there is more lap time to be lost from 1 to 5. And I see this time and time again, where even when we're doing the sim stuff here with Jorge, the producer, like we're both extra brave through the high speed stuff, but we're leaving more lap time through 1, 2, 3. What do they call this, NASCAR section? We're leaving so much lap time there, but we're super brave on the high speed, right, where it's high risk. So it's super important to be very technical in this section. So into 4, I'm turning the car a bit early, and turn 4A and 4B, they are definitely connected corners. So these corners, they have to work in conjunction. You want to be mid to late on the first one, mid to late on the second one. You see here, I'm not straight shotting from A to B. I am still a little bit further left from the middle of the track, and that's just to get a better setup for 4B. Add wheel, play with throttle. This is the section where I don't think you need to grab brake from A to B. Maybe if you're in a car with less grip. This car does have Hoosiers, but I think even in other of our cars that we ran on street tires, this is a whole throttle section, so you're kind of getting the car, the feeling of the car, the attitude of the car, the balance of the car, just with that throttle pedal. So here we are adding a lot more throttle with a lot of wheel, but the car feels okay. This section is usually really rubbered up, so it has a decent amount of grip. Now, into the little S's. This is a section where it's definitely by feel. Why? Because there's no brake marker on the left. You could kind of use the curbing to start learning where you need to turn, but the tough part here is that in most cars, again, you don't need to use the brake to turn the car. So what we do on the Porsches is we go to throttle, we chop the throttle to add front end to the car, right? Because as soon as you remove throttle, the front end is gonna bite, and you'll see here, we just chop the throttle. That gets us enough front end, and I usually turn in a little bit early, again, so I don't miss that apex. So remove throttle, that gets us the front end, and as soon as you see a hint of I can be full throttle here, that's where you need to be, but you gotta wait for that. So initially, obviously, you wait for that point where you're like, I can be full throttle here, and as time goes by, you just start pushing that moment a little bit earlier, because speed gained here is gonna translate all the way through the high-speed S's. We have seen many people here grab throttle early, and just like our car's position, I have this amount of wheel, they add a ton of throttle, and maybe slightly too much throttle, and the car ends up hooking to the inside. You can actually see a ton of marks right here, and it's exactly because of that, because they were antsy getting on throttle, but then again, they realized the amount of gain there to be had just in this section, because the section goes so far. So little S's, as soon as you can, go to throttle, stay on throttle. There's just a little bit of steering wheel that has to be put in, but that's a little fun section. Here, we use this, I believe this is for another configuration of VIR. I don't know exactly which one, but we use this piece of asphalt or this piece of track to tell us when we need to turn in. Here, I am using the second one. I'm using this point to turn in into, this is gonna be 7. So the uphill S's. My favorite part of VIR, everyone's gonna say this. I think this is the reason we probably go back every year. This section, just once you nail it down, it just makes you feel good. The car's hopping between sections. So I use this section on the right to turn the car in. And what you want, the most important part about this S section is you wanna be late on the first one. So this is gonna be 8A. You wanna be super late. So you can be late on this one, and then the next two are kind of a straight shot. In this car, I got a little bit brave. I was able to carry throttle all the way into the second S, and then finally came off the throttle. To see this, and just to think this, that I am approaching a section of S's at 150 it's pretty bananas. This car has an aftermarket wing, and it has aftermarket exhaust. Besides that, it's a stock suspension car, but man, still insanely capable. So we go straight through here. And here it's all about throttle modulation. You can use curbing here, and the reason is that you will have the opposite side of the curb loaded, right? Because you're turning right, turning left. So the opposite side of the car is being loaded every single time. So you take that curb and it doesn't upset the car too much. You'll still maybe get some air time, but that's the reason why it's still safe to use that curbing. Now, you'll see in this curbing here, there's dirt. The next one has dirt, and then the following has dirt. What you need to be careful with this is right here. So curbing where you're not approaching it in the middle, or curbing with a leading edge. Here, you have this little patch of dirt that is definitely a chug hole. We have ruined a wheel or two here. You wanna 100% make sure to approach this curbing not on the leading edge, but where the curbing meets the asphalt, or after the curbing meets the asphalt. This turn, after going through the S's, in our cars, you usually just have to retreat on throttle again, just to get that car to give you a little bit of front end. So just retreat a little bit, just to get a little bit of front end, and you go back to wide open throttle. This next corner, I think locals like our friend Stuart, they call this oh shit corner, because if you miss it, it's a big oh shit moment, because you're literally gonna go off for a ride. We have seen many Caymans do that. We've seen a lot of people on HPDs do it. We call it oh shit. This is just, it's a cool corner. So here, completely blind, again, completely blind. Here, yep, you want to be looking at that corner worker on the left, and there's also a corner worker on the right that you need to be super careful with, because if they're waving a flag, there's a problem, and that problem may be blind to you, and you may be approaching it at over 100 miles an hour. So you want to make sure you're all over that curbing on the left. If you, by anything, miss that curbing, realize you are in a pinch and you're gonna have to retreat throttle, but retreating throttle is gonna cause the rear of the car to be upset. So if you miss this, you basically know you're on for a wild ride. So use this. Once you get comfortable, you want to use that right-hand curbing. As soon as you are on that right-hand curbing and the car comes back to neutral, yep, back to zero, you move that car left. Here, the trickiest braking zone, and the braking zone, or the place where we see the most overtakes when series like IMSA go there, it's gonna be into this oak tree turn. Now, we're doing track day, so it's kind of like quali lap, so we're kind of going for the ideal line, right? I could not imagine going side by side here with another car, as this section is already very tricky just with one car going through here. So here, the key is to brake as you're going left, and you are kind of going downhill, and then you're going back uphill, and you want to drag that brake a little bit in just to keep that front end and not go off the track. So you see me drag a little bit of brake. And in my case, I think again, this car's tough to see what the throttle is doing if it's me or the car. But I added throttle, and then I added brake again. And then you could automatically see as soon as I touched the brake again, the car got upset and I had to add counter steer. So ideally, you grab a big brake and then just drag a dab of brake all the way in to keep that front end pointed. And you want to be all the way left here. A lot of people do not whoa the car enough or do not stop the car enough and do end up on that outside wall. And your goal here is to be mid to late. Important to see this corner work over here. This guy's always super informative. So you want to be mid to late here, but all over that curb on the inside. That curb on the inside, we have used it, not used it, and it definitely upsets the car. But on the opposite hand, you can actually use that curb. If you're finding yourself you're too pinched for it, if you grab that inside curb, it kind of like grabs your car and turns it for you. So you could use it to your advantage, but it will kind of unsettle the car. Here, the goal 100% is to use that apron on the left and to try to get to the throttle as absolutely early as possible. This one, you see there the big bump, but the car was absolutely fine. So here, stay absolutely flat. And this car gave me a good point by. I'm going downhill, then uphill, and then our lap timer stops. And this is the end of the lap. So to end all this, VIR, I love you. A track that we keep on finding lap time every time we are back, regardless of the weather. A track that makes us eager for more laps, but still has zero room for error, with there being little to no runoff. Let us know if you have a different approach to some turns and where you have found the most lap time at this track. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for similar content, and we out. So thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys want to watch another fast lap, go ahead and click here. If you guys want to watch similar content, click here.